Hi everyone, I'm very nervous. My name is Jennifer from Vietnam House Church. For ministry, I serve as a teacher in the Second Service Children's Church. Today I would like to share a short testimony about how God has worked in my life to show me that I need to trust and leave it all to Him. To preface my story, I'm getting married in October this year, and this has meant that there's been an absolute endless amount of planning to get through, from major decisions like the wedding venue, deciding on a place to live, to minor things like colour scheme or what kind of air fryer we want. Luckily, as some of you may know, my MBTI ends with a big fat J, meaning that I love planning. I have backup plans for my plans and backup plans for my backup plans. So needless to say, I was more than happy to take on the task of planning an entire year of our lives. From the very beginning, Minggu and I always talked about creating a family and union that obeys God. To be honest, I felt like it hadn't been that much of a challenge so far. Whenever there were hurdles in our relationship, I had assurance that God would help overcome them, even if it took time. The wedding planning was smooth sailing, and any decision or plan that I made occurred without much trouble, and I felt comfortable in knowing that God approved. I felt really in control of everything. This past month, we have spent most of our time securing a home for us to live once we get married. To be really honest, I started off feeling very confident. We had a checklist based on house church and serving that I felt like was very centered towards what God wanted. I prayed every day, asking God for His guidance. I thought I had done the research, I had a plan, and we just had to follow it. But I quickly came to realize that absolutely nothing was under my control. We didn't always agree on the properties that we liked, and when we finally did settle on one that we both felt like was an answer to our prayers, I thought that that was the end of it. I thanked God again for approving of the choices I was making. And little did I realize that that was just the start of everything. During this process, I felt at odds with my husband-to-be on every single thing. What price were we going to offer? What should we ask the agent about? The frustration I felt was immeasurable whenever he disagreed with me. In turn, I began to focus more on my thoughts and plans on what I believe should happen next. And for me, this only highlighted how absolutely wrong Minggu was about everything. So this also meant that we argued like we had never argued before. For the first time in our relationship, I really started to question God about why He wasn't helping us get past this obstacle. And whenever I expressed this uncertainty, Minggu would just say, "I want to listen to God's voice." To be frank, this really annoyed me because I was just anxious that we were going to miss out on a great opportunity. And I really didn't want to meditate on the word because I felt like God wasn't speaking to me anyway. So with that kind of exhausted and frustrated heart, I was sitting in ANW a few weeks ago, listening to Pastor Choi's sermon about the 10 lepers, when I felt God speak to me in my heart. He said, "You need to leave it to me." I was like those 9 lepers, believing and praying for God to do what I needed and wanted, instead of praying for my life to reflect God's will, then avoiding Him once God didn't help me in the way that I wanted. I didn't completely trust and believe in the Lord to do His work and guide me. God used that situation so that I could see my need to plan everything was actually an obsessive need to have control over my life. I had been clinging on to the desire to be the owner of my life, refusing to accept that the true owner was the Lord. With that heart, I finally prayed for things not to go the way that I had planned, but instead I prayed, "God, I trust everything happens in your timing and will. Please guide me so I can obey you completely." It was hard, but I also let go of my plans and backup plans. I resolved to completely leave it up to Him. Once I did that, the anxiety dissipated and I felt at peace no matter what the outcome might be. The next day, we actually got a call that everything had been approved. And Minggu, I was actually right about everything. God had just been waiting for me to relinquish the reins of my life until I was ready to trust and obey Him completely. To end, I would like to share one of my favorite verses from Proverbs that I came across again while preparing for this My Story. In Proverbs chapter 16, verse 9, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." Unfortunately, I don't think I can get rid of the planning addict in me, but I will continue to seek the Lord's guidance so that my plans are in complete obedience to Him and my steps are established by the Lord. Thank you for listening to my story. God bless you.